final panel discussion of the day, that is on unified digital transformation, harnessing technology cloud. I am pleased to introduce our moderator, Mr. Ravichandran Viswanathan, Senior Director Technology and Transformation, Deloitte, India. Joining Mr. Viswanathan on the panel are G. Narendra, Nath, ITS Joint Secretary, Cyber, National Security Council Secretariat, Government of India, Dr. R.K. Arora, Border Security Professional, Professor, IIT Delhi and Advisor, IIT Bombay, Surya, Program Director, Ministry of Electronics and IT Startup Hub, Government of India, Vivek Sharma, Head SEMT, Government of Madhya Pradesh. Please join me in welcoming our panelist and moderator to the stage. Can we have a round of applause?
Panelist,
Am I audible? Yeah. Hi, good evening everyone. So I'll start with a personal anecdote, and it's been the bane of my life. My name starts with a B, which eventually led me to have my roll number towards the very end. And what used to happen was that by the time the professors used to get to my viva, they were exhausted. And I used to find a way to entertain them. I hope I can manage to stay close with such an illustrious panel. So I'd like to begin with my humble gratitude to the organizers. A fantastic day, such an illustrious line of speakers, and I'm also grateful to have been given this opportunity to host this illustrious panel to run through today. I think the way the whole day has panned out, there have been some great comments from all the speakers, starting from one government, which NSN mentioned about, and then there was also a very remarkable point made on probably not mistaking progress with maturity. So with this panel of speakers, what I'd look to do is that I'd like to get their views on the theme of the day, which is unifying the strategy for technology, cloud, and innovation. So maybe I'll begin with Narendra sir, and he made several remarkable points in the morning. And what is becoming increasingly pertinent now is with the volume of data which is getting generated. Like earlier we used to manage with gigabytes and terabytes, and now we are talking probably petabytes and exabytes. So the choice of cloud has become inevitable. And as we have transcended from on-prem implementations to cloud over the last decade, there is always this probably worry or niggling worry about control of data and the choices with regards to the sovereign clouds. Maybe I would like to begin with Sir's thoughts on what can be done while we get into cloud consideration.
Yeah, I think a relevant point. One of the things about the earlier processing of data was all the silos that we talked about, and then the insights that you get when you combine all of the data, and then across all the data, then you start processing all of the data. The insights you get and the actions you can take is an advantage that you get. That's where people start talking in terms of having data lakes and putting all the data into all the data lakes and doing the processing. And that's where the cloud infrastructure that will come with the cloud infrastructure. And not only that, and then a lot of applications also the different organizations. The data might not belong to them. There could be some data they own, but they bulk the data they don't belong to. And definitely there are concerns regarding privacy of the data. And the data owner might not want the visibility of the data to the other entities. Though they might be okay with the data processing of the data and the results going to the other end. So there are multiple issues that are there, and especially with the smart cities also coming in, and everywhere a lot of IoT data also getting generated. These are important concepts. And there are also issues of sovereignty. The especially with countries. So you are talking in terms of having sovereign clouds. Organizations are coming up. Earlier the thing is, I give you this service and then you have to take it. But I think the private sector also has to realize that there are genuine concerns of the government regarding security and privacy that are required to be taken care of. And they have to come up with solutions for that. And good thing is that they're working on those and they're coming up with solutions. So the one is the sovereign cloud concept that's coming about, especially for really sensitive data. That I think will come and that will happen. And the other is technological solutions also like multi-party compute or those also would be coming about. And I also tell you that in the smart cities concept, we had this IUDX. I don't know if you've heard of IUDX, Indian Urban Data Exchange platform that they created for exchange of data, urban data. But one of the things that they don't talk about is the security of their data. So we have also funded from our office, ISA Bangalore, we funded a project regarding privacy and security of the data, where the multiple technologies for the computation, for privacy preserving, all of these technological solutions are being researched to see how do I apply those concepts to ensure that this is taken care of. So there is a lot of thought going on, and across the government also we have been working on this because this is an important concept and this is something that's going to be stable. We have accepted it.
Thank you so much, sir. And a follow-on question from a point which lingered in the morning when you mentioned about the capacity building work of the organizations. And so in that light, what I'd like to understand is how you can conclude that aspect. And also, since you mentioned about secure by design, we had a great list of officers who have done wonderful initiatives across the country. So integrating security by design and thinking of security right up front rather than a security audit before go live is something. How do you inculcate that culture? I would say it's more of a culture and the capacity. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, one is, wherever I have an opportunity, I parrot it. So that's something I keep telling on all part of the secure design. Security is also functional requirement, and that's a slogan that I've been harping on everywhere. And one thing, personally, I also realized because I was also involved in certain projects, and where we had this first, and then we listed out all those requirements, and then security was not listed at that time. And they had come up with a certain architecture, or the software architecture basically. But then we told them, this will not be, you have to provide security, and we asked them to put security, and came back later. You find that the architecture is actually, and that is one part. The secure design is, as you said, is a culture. So do these students who are coming out of colleges and, are they being taught that is one thing? That's not being taught. And the awareness among the people who are getting this developed. I'm not talking about developers per se, but the users of that, persons who are commissioning those projects, they also do not have this awareness that security is something that they have to think upfront. So this is a message, I think, it's like cyber hygiene is an awareness program. Secure design is also an awareness program that has to go out to the general. They're not really technologies, they need not be technology savvy, but they have to ask the right questions. And those people are not asking those questions. So that, I think, is an awareness program part that has to take place. And I think it's a responsibility for all of us to actually do that. From our side, we are trying to do that. Regarding the other thing, regarding the security part, CERT gives a lot of advisories, NCIPC good or but we find that many of the organizations don't have the capacity to absorb these advisories and take necessary action. So that's a cause for concern. And though we have directions like to have CISOs in organizations, we do not really have CISOs, competent CISOs. I mean, they are somebody designated as CISO, it's an additional functionality that it does. But competent CISOs are not there. So, and as you say, if you have the right, somebody in the morning was also saying that if you have the right person in the right place, so he takes care of everything. So having a right CISO is half the work done, because then he gets into the job of identifying the team, building his own team, identifying what are the activities that are required to be done. And those are things that happen. Not having a right CISO is, it's actually called for disaster. So that is another point. And the training of people, what are the skill sets that are required for the CISO or the persons of post. So in this regard, one is of course I told about the ISA program that I mentioned. It's a very good program. They've had 2 sessions of it. Now the ISA program at 3.0, more than 300, around 320 or 350 crores is that. In that, they are building a virtual platform, virtual labs, a learning management system also on that. So people from anywhere could actually take training programs, and organizations could sponsor people to get trained and monitor the training program, their training programs. That's a very important part. There's a lot of post-development work that happens in that. The other is, we have been conducting national cyber exercises. We've done 2 of them, and we're going to do again. And where we had around 150 people. It's a 2-week program that we do, where incident management skills and response to incident are talked about. And we have used the Rashtriya Raksha University, and earlier we used an Estonian platform for that. Now we have commissioned a project with Rashtriya Raksha University to develop a national cyber range. So that they are building, and on that, one is the IT level platform skills that are required, but we are also asking to build the OT level platform skills. And specifically the power sector and the banking and financial sectors do things that we want to initially put on that. Subsequently, we will do the telecom sector related, OT related activities also for that. So a platform is being built, and we have also commissioned a project. We are going to fund them now. We say that around 2,000 people in the next 1.5 years should be trained for technical skills, so that each of the has around 150, 200 people who would be able to manage those organizations. So this training would be for people from private or public sector and the critical information infrastructure sectors. So this way you have some core people who will be able to handle the security functions that are required to be done. So I'll not say that this is but for a country of size, we have to start somewhere, and these are some initiatives they will take into build that.
Thank you so much, sir. I think some great initiatives, and I hope many of them come to fulfillment during under your leadership itself. Next, I'll probably request Arora sir that while we are progressing on this whole digital innovation journey, one thing the government has been very clear about and vocal about is Make in India. And what I would like to get your thoughts on is, according to you, what are some of the challenges which are coming in probably the way of Make in India and its contribution towards digital innovation?
Thank you, Ravi. So, when we talk about the digital infrastructure, I think particularly when I talk about the digital infrastructure, I am talking about in the public sector and the government organizations. So we are moving at very fast speed. All the public sector units are trying to implement best of the solutions, software for the quick delivery and the transparent system, accountability and responsibility. As Mr. Dubey explained in the morning, thus without the delivery system or society, these all digital platforms are not that important or relevant. So when we come to the part of innovation and the Make in India efforts, we are facing a lot of challenges, because if we visualize these days, particularly in Indian context, the solutions being offered by the industry are ready-made solutions or on-shelf solutions, whereas the users are having a different type of requirements, different use cases, and policy makers are visualizing with the different outcomes or different results. And up to, I think, some extent, these solutions are not able to meet the 100% requirement of all three stakeholders: policy makers, users, and industry also. So there is some gap between these three stakeholders, and these three stakeholders are very critical stakeholder in innovation and when this Make in India efforts or indigenous solutions. So when I recommend or when I say challenges, I think we are not able to implement the hybrid model. When I say hybrid, it means we should bring the industry, user and the policy makers on a common platform. So where the industry people can get the feedback from the user, what sort of a solution they require. As you said, they need an inbuilt security mechanism, they need a preventive security mechanism, or they need some sort of a monetary security mechanism. So it depends different case to case what sort of a security mechanism they need. So because these days these privacy issues are also making a lot of noises and concerns within the law. So feedback from the user is very important. If industry is delivering any product or any solutions which is not meeting the user requirement, ultimately they are going to fail. May sustain for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but they are not going to sustain. So that's the problem. Third, the desirable results or outcome. So when policymakers frame a policy or they plan something new, they expect some outcomes. Like in the US, they are having an office of accountability. Generally, they audit after a couple of years, after 3 years, after the grant of the funds or after approval of that project. But in India, we don't have that sort of a mechanism where we carry out the audit, external audit of that project, where we grant the fund. So to meet these requirements, I think we must bring the policymakers, industry and the user on a common platform where they can share their requirements, their idea, and they can make a user-based solution. At present, we are using the market-driven solutions. So market-driven solutions are dominating. That's why I think industry is also facing a lot of problems. Secondly, I say, in addition to hybrid, I call it a double hybrid model. We also multiply the existing hardware or hard infrastructure and digital infrastructure that will further integrate and enhance the capacity of the new system. So this is the model I think which I recommend for the innovation and Make in India efforts, because we have gone through different phases. I was associated with a number of new initiatives by the government as well as the academia sectors, but we face this type of challenges. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think very pertinent points with regards to even private sector, like some start and all. Probably they realize that fully online will not work and they will go digital. Earlier in the day also, we spoke about how CSC components, some of the things. So absolutely pertinent for the diverse landscape of India. And now coming to Suryakantji, what I'd like to probably get your thoughts on are your views on how would on the digital innovation which is required for the progress of this country.
Thank you so much. So, rightly, like that Dr. Deloitte said just after the integration of the policy and the execution. So, each and every component is required. So, in the last few years, we must have seen the multiple changes and development through an initiative called digital. So it's not only about the educating the across country about the digital innovation and the digital initiative. Throughout the day, we have seen multiple initiative and engagement by different departments and ministries. Parallelly, we are not only committed to provide the support to develop the digital infrastructure into the country, but also like in last year during the G20 presidency. So under the G20. For the MIT itself, we have an initiative called the Digital Innovation Alliance. And under this, we were supporting startup, global startup, all the G20 partner country as well as the 9 guest country. We asked them to nominate one startup in the 6 identified sectors which are EdTech, HealthTech, FinTech, AgriTech, secure digital and cyber security. So each of these countries has nominated their startup in that particular sector, and the primary criteria was that each startup should pressing the social development and the changes into the society, how they are making a change into the society from their initiative. We hosted these startups in during August 2023 at Bangalore. 120 plus global startup participated in this physical pitching session. Across, we had 400 plus international delegates. Parallelly, we were hosting the summit as well as talking about the Digital Innovation Alliance, how globally as well as that India can grow in this initiative. Recently, you must have few days back listened about that launch of the India Semicon event by Honorable PM. So, in upcoming years, you can see that how semiconductor industry or the chip to design the incentive cost and given to the 13 startups. So from each and every division, where it's talking about the, even though UIDI, Aadhaar, linking them with each and every component, going to the UPI, supporting the startup even through the single window system. Currently we have more than 1,25,000 startup, registered DPIK registered startup in India, 114 unicorn. Even though that's quite interesting that just like a few months back when the government of India has launched the India AI Vision to support the AI ecosystem, which is 10,300 crore plus of the amount. Now India have one unicorn in the AI field as well. So nowhere we can see in terms of the digital initiative and engagement that we are lacking or we are not supporting. Under the Mighty Startup Hub, we are supporting startup through our schemes as well as the joint programs. Like we are also planning to do something with Dr. Arora as a moderator, how we can support startups who are into the defense technology. And when we say defense, it's not limited to the border area only, it is also about the city-based or state-based, each and every component about the security also. So we support startup through these kind of programs. Similarly, for the smart city perspective also you can talk. We are in discussion with the GMR, how they can support the startup who are into the infrastructure or aerospace or airport development technology part. On the other hand, if we talk about the scheme part, currently we have Tide, Samrit and Genesis, 3 schemes. Genesis is about to launch just, and it will be the first of its kind of scheme which will be focusing to the tier 2 and tier 3 city-based startup. So it's a mandate of the scheme where we will not supporting startup from the metro cities, but this is the way how we can support startup from the small towns. So this is the first mandate. Second is that under this Genesis scheme also we are supporting startup from the ideation to the deep tech stage as well as. Currently under the Tide and Samrit we have a startup somewhere around 1,500 plus. And these startups as of now have created more than 6,000 employment across the India and coming from each and across every vertical in this sector. Parallelly in terms of their current, the valuation of these startups, so which is more than 4,500 crore as of December 2023. So we are, whenever we are trying to create a policy, we take input from the corporate or respective stakeholder as well as we jointly committed to host or organize certain program with the different industry stakeholders. And this is the kind of commitment we are delivering as a creating a digital infrastructure across.
Thank you so much, Surya, and it was wonderful the kind of participation you were seeing. It's been, the past decade has been a decade of unicorns for India, and from whatever you're mentioning, I would say that I hope and pray that the next decade is an exponential multiplier of that. We started the day with Viksit Bharat, and probably the last question to you is that what role will Mighty play in the unified digital transformation journey for Viksit Bharat?
So it started with basically, the Digital India initiative. So when we started this event itself, you can see the bhashni, the presence and the ecosystem engagement. So reaching out to each and every language, which is the kind of mandate the government is putting. So, and that's not limiting about the covering each and every language of the country, but also providing support from each and every initiative. talking about the semiconductor. Earlier it was a quietly people get confused that how India can support and think about the semiconductor. What India can do into the deep tech sector. What India can do into the AI sector. So from across the vertical and the multiple initiative, we have a separate division which is taking care of the separate initiative. India Semiconductor Mission, India AI Mission, Mighty Startup Hub, Bhashni, Innovation and IPR Division. So each and every division works with the same target, like you said, in terms of the Viksit Bharat, and the overall the commitment is that to create a robust digital infrastructure system.
Thank you so much. It's been a privilege to host all of you. I'd like to summarize by saying that with whatever India is working on and creating the ecosystem and all the measures which are being taken by the government, we do hope to see a more progressive and Viksit Bharat. We do need to balance the FOMO, if I may use the word, the fear of missing out on using latest technologies with a measured take on security. So I thank you again for all your views, and it's been a privilege. Thank you so much.